Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, and I'm so happy to have a guest. Brian Ryback is with me, and as you can see from his background, he likes music, so he's in the right spot. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Doing great. How you doing?
Awesome. So today we're going to talk Blues Traveler, which is awesome. Brian has some great stories, and we're going to talk all things music, and but we're going to dive into Blues Traveler in a bit. But wanted to get just a sense of yourself and kind of what you do and your background professionally, so that the audience knows how to reach out to you or how to get to you when it comes to work stuff.
Sure, absolutely. So thank you. I have a consultancy called Labrador. And basically what I do is I go into companies, I try to figure out what it is they're trying to do from a marketing perspective, and then align that with, okay, what's keeping you from doing it from a technological perspective? And then bridge the gap, forgive the cliche, but literally help them by not just configuring the technology, because anybody does that, but really addressing the people and their proficiencies and making sure they're set up to achieve their greatest potential within these tools. Is it a custom dashboard? Do I have to set this one tool up differently? Is there a different tool that would be better based on the user's proficiencies? And from there, the companies are able to not only make a lot more money because they're able to improve the efficiencies, as I keep saying, but also team satisfaction skyrockets. And it's a really,
Awesome.
really fun thing to do.
Awesome. And marketing tech and that's where everything is these days,
Absolutely.
the integration and combination. So let's talk fun stuff. So why music? I see the guitars and the banjos. Like,
Sure.
I always get perplexed when people are like, I don't like music, I don't listen to music. I'm like, hmm. So what is it about music that kind of
Sure.
motivates you and drives your creativity?
Well, one of the oldest stories I remember, that anybody that knows me knows I don't remember anything from my past, but I remember my grandfather telling me this story about how he was in the barracks with General MacArthur.
Wow.
And MacArthur came and said, "How you holding up?" And my grandfather looked him in the eyes and he said, "Ladies and gents, take my advice. Pull down your pants and slide on the ice." And that was like a song, and it lifted everyone's spirits. And when I heard that at such a young age, it was kind of coupled with always seeing my father practicing saxophone, and I just became enamored with music. I played saxophone throughout school, but then, I was playing saxophone in a Metallica cover band and it didn't work out too well. And they said, go learn another instrument. So I picked up bass guitar, and most of these are basses except for the banjo and the ukulele. Um, and from that point, I fell in love with blues rock. Then I discovered first the Spin Doctors, who Aaron Coates is my favorite drummer in the whole wide world. I love Brendan Hill also from Blues Traveler, but Aaron, I like to call a friend at this point. And he's actually on my album that I'm recording. He's recorded a song with me, which is really cool.
Awesome.
The song's about him, so I figured it made sense to have him play drums on it.
Yeah.
And I became really in love with that backbeat rhythm. And then in college, I was in the gospel choir, and I really, really started. Although I'd been singing throughout high school and whatnot, I really got into it at that point, where it was like I knew how to get power out of my voice. I knew how to get pain and emotion and happiness and joy. And so it just is always been everything always come back to music for me, no matter what
Awesome.
it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And how's that motivate you? I know a lot of people work from home these days, right? And I find that music helps drive your creativity, obviously, but your motivation, it's this mindset when it comes to music. Do you use music to drive your kind of get you pumped up a little bit for work and get you
Big
going?
time, big time. Either I'm listening to a Blues Traveler track, or lately I've been listening to a lot of Keb Mo, who I adore. Um, but I'll tell you, during the day, what I listen to are binaural beats, which
Yeah.
is a type of music, frequency kind of weird stuff. And you don't believe it will work when you first hear it until you put headphones on and you listen to it, and all of a sudden you're 3 hours into whatever it was you were doing. So that is something I rely on a lot during the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk Blues Traveler because when we talked offline, um, I never thought I would meet such a super fan for a band like I am with the Black Crowes. And you were, you were telling me the amount of shows you've been to, the experiences. So what was it that got you attracted to the band Blues Traveler from the start?
I was going through a really tough time in high school, deep depression, and eventually, I guess it was 1994 or so. Blues Traveler came out with their album Four. Now, I had never heard of Blues Traveler, but Dave Matthews had John Popper play on that track. What would you say? And my sister said to me, "That's a harmonica," and I'm like, "That's a harmonica? What do you mean that's
Yeah.
a harmonica?" And there was no internet; I couldn't look it up.
Yeah.
So thinking she's messing with me as always. But then I heard the name again and Blues Traveler and Run Around came out and everyone was crazy about it. I got the album and it came across this song called Just Wait. And Just Wait to me is like a very, very special and important song to me because there's a line in it where John sings, "There's no such thing as a failure who keeps trying. Coasting to the bottom is the only disgrace." And years later, I would talk to John about the song, and he wrote this about a friend of his. And but what he said to me was he was so surprised by the amount of people who bring up that song and that line to him.
Mm.
It's actually quite amazing, and so I've always celebrated that. And beyond that, just my love of music. I love the Black Rose also. That style of music always gets me. But the virtuosity of John, their bass player Tad now, although Bobby Sheehan, the original bass player, was the biggest influence on my learning to play bass. I used to try to, funny story, I wanted to learn this one song, Slow Change. That's a lot of scales. And I finally learned it. And then I found out that they played it in a different key live. And I'm like, son of a, not that that's so hard on bass, but it was just funny. And the combination of all of them, if you listen to Chan Kinchla's guitar rhythms, very similar to Eric Shankman from the Spin Doctors with respect to the rhythms and the right hand.
Yeah.
It's just all rhythm. It's all rhythm and all groove. And I was never, believe it or not, a big jam band guy.
Right.
But I love solos. And so Blues Travelers jams are very different than like Dave Matthews, where I feel like I could fall asleep 15 minutes into the 30-minute version of Watchtower. And I never feel that way about Blues Traveler. And next week, I think it is, will be my 251st show. So I'm very
And
excited about that.
that is amazing. And obviously you're a super fan, but for fans that, maybe hear their Blues Traveler's most popular songs, what songs would you recommend or album you recommend that's kind of, hey, this is maybe not the most popular, but it's something you should kind of gravitate to or look at if you're a real music fan and you might like this sound.
Well, Save His Soul to me is their best album. I mean, but yeah, I think it's important to come back to something that our generation knew, which was what an album was, which is it's not individual songs. You have to listen to it as a body, of how the songs go into each other. Travelers and Thieves does that as well. But Save His Soul, the songs are so well written and so well rehearsed. You could hear that band painfully played those songs live. And my favorite song is actually a B-side on Runaround, which is called Trust and Trust. And it's the one song I've never heard live, and I'm hoping I'll hear it this time. There's at least a chance of it because they're doing some deeper cuts or whatnot.
Yeah.
So Trust and Trust, if you want to hear a song that to me is like thick and thin from the Black Crowes, like that kind of vibe, that's a great tune. Some people will kill me for comparing Black Crowes and Blues Traveler because I guess Chris Robinson, John had some
Yeah,
words years
they
ago.
had their conflict, yes.
But you know what? I'm a fan and I can't help it. But Blues Traveler reigns supreme for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a picture behind you, and you have to get to the story of what is that picture, and kind of talk to me about your run-in with Blues Traveler.
Sure. So I've been very fortunate to meet Blues Traveler a few times. The first time I met John Popper was outside Letterman's studio, and he still had his show. And I was so stuck like a statue that my friend Brian physically kicked me in the butt. And I moved forward and I went and asked John for a picture and autograph. Still have it. And several times since then, but this picture behind me over my shoulder is the most important picture ever. And I'm looking forward to having a second one done because it was with my first son when he was a baby and sitting on my lap and all me sitting around with Blues Traveler sitting all around me.
So
It
cool.
just like the most incredible picture in the entire world. And I need a second one because I have a second son. So now I want a picture with both, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm so grateful they invited me onto this. It wasn't a bus. It was like, because it was at a festival. So they had this little trailer set up for them as like a backstage. So I got to do that and, very fortunate to, be close with some members of the band. Mostly Brendan, the drummer, is who I know the best, and it's just it's weird when I see them. I get nervous. I get this nervous feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I to this day I don't know why. It should just be pure joy, but it winds up being the second they come on stage. It's just
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
the most relaxed I feel.
No, I get like that for concerts. I get excited nervousness before shows to see the band. And I always talk about this, like when you meet your people or your band and you have a great experience like the one you had and obviously captured in a picture, it just makes um, the fandom and the music that much sweeter, right?
Yeah. It really does. And I like that I'm with I'm like them not being at the Taylor Swift level at this point means a better chance of getting to know them as people. And
Hmm.
like they mean so much to me, each member of that band, because of the struggles that I've had and how much they've helped me get to where I am now, that when I see them, it literally feels like I'm seeing family.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really does. And I know you feel that way when you see Chris. I mean, it's got to be just like, hey brother, that's how it feels. It's great.
Well, you also, the longevity of the band and the fans, right? It's if it's 30, 40 years of listening to this music and through stages of life and through having a child, like the music stays with you. And you're right about mentioning about the levels, right? Like seeing an intimate show is really powerful now when you know, the Lemonheads are playing in Philadelphia for 2 nights.
That's great.
And it's a smaller venue, obviously, right? But it's still that experience of seeing your favorite band or a band in a smaller environment. And
Yeah.
what I have not been to a Blues Traveler show in a
You're
long
gonna come next week, right? The 26th,
time.
Pier 17.
What is the vibe and it seems very communal and very family oriented and
It's
um
very cool.
enjoying the music, per se.
Yeah, it's funny because the fans, we call each other fellow travelers, and some of them following the band around long before I knew who they were when they used to play like the Wetlands and all this different stuff. I wish I could have seen those shows and Nightingales and all those places, but when you get to the show, right up front to the stage are all those fans, so we all know each other. So there's a lot of people there. Most of them are there to hear Run Around and Hook. We're all there not to hear those songs.
Right.
Although, I still dance and have a good time to them. I
Yeah.
love them. But we're all there to hear deeper tracks. And so when they cut in with one of those songs, we just all look at each other like, yeah, okay, they're on. And then that moment before John's gonna just explode into a solo because that song is one of those ones where it's just like Love and Greed, a good example of a song that I would highly recommend for a Black Crowes fan to listen to.
Hmm.
That song is like it's just like it's just incredible to see it live and see them perform that type of a song live. It's just all of them playing and all the energy Chan brings to the stage is great. Who's a guitar player? It's just an amazing thing. And Ben Scooter Box Wilson on keyboards, he brought a tremendous dynamic when the bass player died. He started touring with the band and Shan's brother Tad on bass. And it just great ensemble of musicians with all
Yeah.
virtuosic, abilities.
And based on your music background, what is it about the harmonica, right? Because that's what people know that probably don't know deep cuts from Blues Traveler, right? They know that John Popper is a harmonica player. What is it about the harmonica that brings that you know, brings that certain sound or quality to the songs? Because it is kind of unique, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the songs do have him playing harmonica.
I mean, most do, but what I think what I've learned about harmonica, and I could barely play, but I play when I do acoustic shows, I play and embarrass myself, but I enjoy it and I don't care, right?
Hmm.
Um, for John, he has and I'm not kidding when I say this, I've been told what makes him so amazing is he has this just incredible lung capacity that not normal people don't have. And that plays into it, but his natural ability, the effects he uses, he has an incredible effects processor that he uses. He has Leslie speakers. He uses all of those things to complement his sound, where it's almost like I'm not a very big Jimi Hendrix fan, so I'm not going to use that analogy, but a Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of just able to shred, but the added wah or the added this or added that adds such a flavor to it that it's so unique. Like there are other players that could play Mixolydian style like John, and it's incredible, but the sound, it's John the second he plays.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's 251 shows, but he really does have a very distinct sound, and I've never heard anybody else even come close to playing with him, and you could hear to this day the joy,
Yeah.
in his playing. He loves it. It just gets whatever's inside of him, gets it right out of him.
Well, Brian, it's been awesome to hear about Blues Traveler, and now
Thank you.
I'm gonna be on a Blues Traveler kick
Awesome. Hope so.
this this week. And thanks so much for being on Rock and Roll Fridays.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure, and I hope to see you next week at the show.
Yeah.